Hi, everybody. Welcome back. In the border battle all this time, the Department of Justice has been saying only a small group of rogue ATF agents knew about Operation Fast and Furious.
Well, the failed operation allowed hundreds of weapons to go across the border into Mexico. Now we're learning Mexican drug cartel members were working as FBI informants. That's new this morning.
Yes, that is new. Fox's William Lajeunesse joins us now live in Sassabee with the latest on the Fast and Furious. So, what did the Justice Department know? That's what we want to know.
Well, Rick, you know, this is a very remote crossing, and we know this is one of those locations where ICE agents stopped guns being smuggled southbound right here. They later learned that those were part of an ATF operation. Well, that led to a fight between the two agencies, and ICE was told to back off and not interfere with Fast and Furious. Well, it turns out that multiple federal agencies knew about the operation and the danger it represented.
There's going to be a disaster that's going to happen. Someone is going to get killed. Unfortunately, Brian Terry is that nightmare that came true.
Former Tucson Drug Enforcement Chief Tony, the ATF wasn't the only federal agency with a hand in Operation Fast and Furious.
On two occasions that I know of, that weapons that ATF were trying to walk into Mexico, ICE actually interceded and seized those weapons.
The DEA also helped, providing intelligence on suspected ringleader Manuel Celis Acosta.
The ATF shared the same wire room inside this building with the DEA, where they would monitor live conversations of their targets. Now, this lasted for more than a year as the ATF tried to identify two high-level cartel associates, the money men behind Fast and Furious. Well, according to documents, both the DEA and the FBI knew who these men were, but didn't bother to tell the ATF. In fact, their names were written on call sheets inside here, but the ATF never saw them.
The FBI also admitted both men were confidential informants, making them off-limits and unindictable.
So for a year, basically the ATF was looking for two guys that the FBI already had on their payroll. The DEA and the FBI knew their identity the day that Fast and Furious began and a year before Brian Terry was killed. These guys apparently, Rick, are still inside the cartel as informants and are considered a national security asset and will never be indicted. Back to you.
So, yeah, go on.
Well, I understand that these informants were given that job, if you will, and because they were going to lead them to the big fish, but in reality, they are some of the big fish out there when it comes to these drug cartels.
Well, exactly. So when this operation started, basically ATF said, let's follow the guns and try to expose the entire network. And these are the two big fish that they were after, the money men, if you will. The irony, of course, is that already working for the U.S. government, and again, as a paid informant, they were unindictable. So you spent all this taxpayer money, a guy gets killed, many people in Mexico get killed, and the FBI already knows who they're after, knows this operation is going on, and doesn't tell the ATF, hey, the guys you want, we already got. That is why a congressional review of this entire thing calls it a massive failure.
Massive failure. And this is all under the Justice Department, is it not? And Eric Holder being the Secretary or the Attorney General.
And that is the wider point here, is when you finally realize that ATF, ICE, DEA, FBI, all these agencies knew about it. Is it really entirely plausible that no one at Main Justice in Washington knew about this, and yet you have basically 4 federal agencies who did know about it? A lot of people find that to be
hard to believe.
Unrealistic.
Absolutely unrealistic.
It doesn't agree with our sense of logic how nobody knew anything.